Jazz hands.
Jazz hands. We always do jazz hands because Facebook and YouTube take the first second and make it a screenshot. That's why I always look stupid when we begin this podcast. Welcome, friends. Shady, are you ready to cue the intro music? What an episode. Buckle down. Everyone, fasten your seatbelts. I'm in a mood. Nothing is going well for me this week. Everything, the forces have aligned against me. I have nothing to lose on this episode. Shady, cue the music in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to This is Jen, the podcast by your favorite stand-up comic, Mom of 6, who is currently suspended from Instagram. This is if that's what you were hoping for in a podcast, you have come to the right place. This week, I am going to answer, I get a lot of questions about when you have kids that lose faith, because everyone knows I was raised atheist and now I'm not. So people ask me about this and I'll tell you, and everyone needs to understand, this is not, Jen has all the answers. Jen has it all figured out because her life is perfect, and my answer is not going to be, well, friends. Shady, do we have any sappy music, or do we only have ominous music? Just play whatever music we have that would be closest. Yeah, okay.
Sad. We have sad music.
Okay, fine. Oh, no.
That wasn't it. That says sad.
Well, friends, I was thinking about your problems with your kids' faith life as I was praying the rosary with my children. But you guys wouldn't understand because we pray it in Latin. Well, that's only the second time of day when we pray as a family. It's in Aramaic. We like to just speak the language of our Lord. So my kids are always, don't you hate it? Relatable moment, Shady. Relatable moment. Don't you hate it when your kids are like, Mom, do we have to pray the 5th rosary in English? Like, can't we?
I hate it every time.
I prefer, yeah. So that's not going to be the answer. I don't know. I don't know why people ask me these things, but I will give you the answer. But first, and if you saw the title of this podcast and that's what you're here for and that's what you would like to talk about, I'll just tell you, if you're watching live, welcome friends who are watching live. If you're watching live, just get a sandwich and come back, because I have been suspended from Instagram with no knowledge of when I'll be back. And everyone knows that's, me and Instagram, this is a big deal. And people were probably wondering, like, they're like, normally she does 50 Instagram stories by noon. Where is she? I'm suspended. And then, no, but it gets worse. You're like, Jen's life couldn't get any worse. And you'd be mistaken. I did a video that was a celebration of my new followers. And it was doing really well, especially on TikTok, which was a surprise because normally content like that doesn't do well. All my new fans and friends on TikTok who love me and I love them. And yes, they're all 14, but hey, we're a squad, okay? And I have to be very careful how I engage with them so I don't get arrested. But I'm TikTok famous. Last week, I was wearing my TikTok famous shirt. My new fans over there, my new friends, were appreciating this celebratory content. And it has been taken down for a community violation. So in theory, I would hit that in about 1 minute and then get on to the topic of the podcast. But you know me being banned from social media. If you're watching live, just go. You can run some errands. You can pick up your dry cleaning. I'll probably still be on this when you're back. And if you are blessed to be listening to the replay, just skip to like halfway through this episode, and that is probably when the meat of it will start. So Shady, shall we check live and see? Let's see if I'm still banned from Instagram. Maybe I'm not. Maybe the luck of this podcast will be, and for those of you watching the video, you can look up this video on Facebook or on YouTube. Just search for my name. You'll see the video. Am I kidding? Oh, look, look, I'm suspended. And autofocus is one of the 5,000 things that's not working today. Oh, Shady, lean out of the frame. I think that'll, okay, now I think it'll, okay, no, still not working. Well, take my word for it. That says I'm suspended. And then, so now we move over to TikTok. Have they unbanned my video? Let's just see. Let's see how we're doing on TikTok here. No, still no. And it was doing really well. I was getting all these new followers, and more blurry proof. Since I mean, I'm telling you, have you ever had one of those weeks where the forces are aligned against you? Nothing works. Nothing goes your way. Your computers, your phones, your internet service provider, like nothing worked. That's this week for me. So here's a blurry, since autofocus isn't working, here's a blurry shot. Unfortunately, you can't see what this says, so I'll read it to you. Shady, actually, I'll have Shady read it. Would you, Shady, at the bottom here, it says content violation, and then it gives the reason. Could you lean really into the mic, and could you read why it says my content?
Accent?
Yeah, do it with an accent.
Okay.
Let's class it up. Let's class up this podcast.
I wasn't gonna do a nice accent.
Good. Well, whatever. I didn't say it has to be the Queen's English.
All right.
Like, fine.
Adult nudity
Yeah.
and sexual activity.
Adult nudity and sexual activity. And I guess this might be why
Sexual.
What accent is that?
I don't know.
Okay, good. We're just making up accents.
Just
I guess that's why I'm also suspended from Instagram. I don't know. So I can't I can't use any of these apps. And so now the good folks of Twitter, the good folk over there, they think that they have gotten to the bottom of this issue. And now I'm slumming it back on Twitter. I hadn't used that app in a long time. I was like, Twitter's toxic. I don't go on that app anymore. Well, guess what? You get kicked off all the other apps. And now I'm slumming it back with my friends on Twitter very grudgingly. Don't even want to be there. But, I've been, it's like the Star Wars bar of apps. And so now I'm back on Twitter. But they have been very helpful. We think we know what's going on. So let's see. Window. What? But yes, here we go. Now I need to be careful. Shady, I am intentionally not playing sound because as my technology issues continue, Facebook and YouTube and I have not had a meeting of the minds on fair use laws. So there's a song in this video that is amazing. It's called Punga. I don't know, some Scandinavian word, Punga. It's incredible, but it keeps getting, Facebook has an issue with that. Like, this video is the most controversial thing I've ever done. So Shady, don't worry about sound because we can't play it. So it's a highlight reel of, 2 months ago, I started a sketch series on why it's so hard to be a mom today. Those of you listening on audio, that is what this video says. Then it goes on to say, here's how that's going. And this is a highlight reel of some of the cool news coverage I've gotten. So I set a piece of paper on fire, and then we have the Good Morning America, Yahoo News, Today Show, Romper, what else? Newsweek's, Fox News. I mean, it's cool. I got a lot of, you guys know. That was cool. So I did a highlight reel to celebrate, posted some text and stuff. So I'm like, what do they think is nudity or adult content? Do I not know what these words mean? I thought I did. So here we have me, and this is a clip from you just see a bunch of clips of the sketches I've done. All looking normal, Shady, right? Do you see? Okay, well, here it is. Okay, Shady, here it is. For those who are listening on audio, we think, my Twitter sleuths and I think this is the issue. What am I holding here?
Hair curler.
I'm holding a curling iron. I'm holding a curling iron.
Suspicious.
What is wrong with me? The problem is not me. The problem is you guys.
It's a you problem.
I am just trying to do my little content where I'm just trying to bless people by saying interesting things. And look, and it goes by very quickly. So for those of you on audio, this is a highlight reel where no clip lasts more than 1 second. It's like half a second, half a second, half a second, half a second to some excellent music that Facebook and YouTube feel like I don't have the rights to play, even though I only used a few seconds of it. So just imagine some great Scandinavian techno dance music here. Thank you. Okay, Shady, do that while I play 10 seconds. Okay, yes, there you go. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
I don't know if I can.
It's a curling iron. It's a curling iron. So we are pretty sure that when I do this motion here with the, that people thought it wasn't a curling
Y'all are
iron.
nasty.
What's wrong with people? This is my life, guys. This is my life, that I was enjoying building this following. I was trying to connect with them. This was doing really well. This is one of the things you do is you connect, you let your fans, especially new fans, kind of celebrate with you. And it works for everyone else. Everyone else posts content like this. I get it taken down for nudity. And what was it? No, adult nudity and
sexual activity.
Adult nudity and sexual activity. So can I just start an OnlyFans that's like just me curling my hair? Can I monetize this?
Only ma'ams?
Can we? Yeah, right.
Somebody commented that last week when we were talking
Only
about
what?
Only ma'ams.
Only ma'ams. Yeah, only ma'ams. This is, and I don't know. See, when you get suspended, you don't know when you will be back on these platforms. So when will I be back on Instagram? I don't know, which is very frustrating to me, because as much as I joke about TikTok, my career is built on Instagram. So that's kind of a big deal to be suspended from it. A friend of mine, Allison Voidovich, who you guys know, she opens for me a lot when we go on tour. You know, Allison, she is fantastic. She blames Mercury in retrograde. So there you go. It's this celestial object, stupid Mercury. So Mercury's right by the sun. How would that, I have to say, Allison was kidding, but I do have to say, I've never understood the whole thinking behind astrology. I get it when people thought that the stars in the sky were little celestial beings and stuff that arranged themselves to be cool pictures. I get that, but now that we know that Mercury is this rock of a planet that just kind of orbits the sun, and there's nothing there because it's too hot, and it's just this desiccated rock that's just floating around in space. I've never understood people being like, well,
it's got to be Mercury.
That's why you're suspended. That is why you're suspended from Instagram. That's exactly what's going on. So for people asking when I will be back, I don't know. They don't tell me. It's just,
you'll have to hijack my stories.
It's at their leisure. I know. Yeah. I'll have to take over Shady Stories. You don't realize how addicted you are to these apps until you get banned from them. So there you go. Oh, and then like Facebook wouldn't play the sound on my previous video. This is not a good social media week for me. We're having a rough time over here, but we're hanging in there. We are hanging in there. So, okay. Again, this podcast is recorded live. We do it live now. It is every Tuesday at 1:30 Central, 2:30 East. And you can join us on Facebook or on YouTube. I stopped doing it on Instagram, not only because I'm suspended, but because I'll never get over it. But because they don't let you connect the sound effects in the video and stuff. So it just wasn't as good of an experience. But every Tuesday, you can catch me live on Facebook and on YouTube. And then, of course, the podcast is available on any podcast app. Okay, so let's get into, people contact me all the time about when their kids lose faith. They raise them Christian. In my world, I come from the Catholic world. They raise them Catholic. And this is a very common thing. Now that I'm going out again and I do events, I do a lot of Catholic events, and people will just line up at my book table. Like they buy my book, my conversion story book. And they'll say, oh, my kid, I raised my kid Catholic and they're going the opposite direction of you. They've said that they've lost faith. And it always puts pressure on me when they're like, I'm buying your book and this is just going to fix that. And I've thought, I bet at some point, if my kids have questions about faith and they're bringing it up at a youth group or something, someone will be like, you should read this book. It's by this woman. She was an atheist. It's going to happen. I have 6 kids. It's going to happen at some point. So I think that because someone at my kids go to Catholic school, and I was talking to another parent at Catholic school, and they said, so 2 of my kids go to public school at junior high and then high school, Catholic school. So 2 of the other parents there were saying, and by the way, 2 are homeschooled. I didn't mean to leave off the other 2. So they were saying it's really shocking how even in Catholic schools now. I mean, all of these kids, like so many kids, just say they're not interested in upholding these traditions. And my Protestant friends say the same thing. They're saying that their kids are, they're atheists, or they don't believe, or they just have a different kind of spirituality. And the big thing that I want to focus on here, and this is what I'm always focusing on in all of the work that I do, I don't as much claim to have the detailed solutions, because what I have found in life is, especially when it comes to things like parenthood and faith and these subjects that are very heavy and they're very big and they involve a lot of difficult interpersonal things, there aren't simple answers. And anyone who says there are simple answers and that they have it all figured out is trying to get you to join their Patreon, and you should join my Patreon, because I said that, because I'm exposing the fact. Notice that in this world, people who are like, if your kids are atheists, it's because you have not prayed the right novenas, and you're probably just being horrible and not being as much of a role model. You cannot even imagine what these people make on how they monetize that. Join my Patreons. Bonus content where I don't talk about stuff like that. I do life tips, things like that. Patreon.com/thisisjen. But seriously, anyone who says that they have simple answers to this is selling you something, quite literally. So the big thing I always want to focus on is stopping the self-blame. I think that is the most important thing, because it doesn't help anything if you are feeling bad and you have all of these negative emotions around it. No one has ever been like, yeah, I went through an atheist phase, and then my mom yelled at me and said she's so disappointed and started crying and slammed the door. And that I really rediscovered the love of Christ in that moment. That it really inspired me. And so that's what I always focus on, is how do you move forward in whatever way is going to work best for you in the right mentality. And the first thing I think is really important is to not blame yourself. It's so easy to look back and say, what did I do wrong? Was I not a good enough role model? Was I, did I not teach the faith enough? It was, I let them read that one book. That's what it is. That's, if we just skipped that one movie, if they hadn't gone to that school. But here's me, guys, I am always big on looking at historical anthropology, looking at history generally, tracking trends of human behavior so that you can see if what you're experiencing is an aberration or if this is normal. And one of the things that is very different about the times that we live in is parents used to have a lot of help keeping their kids in their faith tradition, because one, you had the very inspiring fact that everyone lived on the edge of death all the time, that without modern medicine, like everyone was contemplating the Lord much more often. When, if you came from a big family, I mean, probably not all of your siblings made it. We have I think graveyard talk is what my fans are. Why do I always end up on these tangents? We have a family cemetery where we have ancestors that go back to, like, they were born in the 1840s. And so we go there to visit family graves and things like that. And because we're weird Texans, they actually do what they call a cemetery homecoming. And my mother is from the Northeast and was like, who comes home? Like, what is that? Has your family, you guys don't party at cemeteries?
Oh, no, yeah. We set up stuff and go to, like, their birthdays and all the holidays.
Do you?
And stuff. Yeah.
Okay. And is it for the whole cemetery? Actually, here, leave a comment.
Not for the whole cemetery. I never see a bunch of other people doing that.
Okay. For those of you watching live, I'll look at comments in a minute. Have you ever been to a party at a cemetery, or is that just, do we have problems here? So we'll walk around and say, oh, that's your great great grandmother, and that's your great 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 grandmother. But one of the things you see is life was hard. Life was very hard without modern medicine and with this miserable Texas heat. I mean, there are just a lot of people who didn't make it very many years. And that's, I mean, it's not a good reason, but that certainly helped keep people a little closer to God when you're looking around and a lot of the people you're growing up with and a lot of friends and family, they're not making it. And that will make you contemplate heavenly things very seriously. So and I'm not like, I wish we could go back to when everyone was dying all the time. It's great that we have modern medicine. It's great that we live in the time and place that we do, but there is less pressure for people to take questions like big life questions seriously. So you're up against that as parents. But here's the other thing is, if you look at any time in Western history, let's say, American, European history for the past 600-700 years, there was an enormous social pressure to at least verbally claim a Christian faith and to keep going to church, regardless of what you believed in your heart. And I think it's easy to look and say, well, my great grandparents, they raised all their kids Catholic, they raised all their kids Christian, they stayed Christian, and what's my problem? We're having so much trouble here. But I think if we were to actually go back to those times, and again, I spent a lot of time talking to my grandfather and some of his cousins who were born in 1912, 1910, and 1914. So keep in mind, they met people and knew people and had talked to people who were born in like the 1880s. So I got some good data from these conversations I had. And I was considering, I was still an atheist at the time, but I was starting to explore faith. So I had questions for them about that. And one time I made the comment, I said, man, it seems like everyone was just so into God and just into faith in your era. And all of them kind of laughed and said, they claim to be. They went to church for sure. And I don't think that people were a whole lot more devout, maybe a little bit, because again, there was life expectancy was much shorter back then. But I don't think that people were generally a whole lot more devout than they are now back then. I think that there were just social pressures to, like, for example, if you wanted to get ahead in the world, if you wanted to get a great job, if you wanted to be in politics or anything, you had to pretend that you went to church, regardless of what was in your heart. You just wouldn't be able to advance socially if you didn't play the game, and which is an unfortunate way to use faith. And so I think one of the things that can encourage modern parents is to say, I don't think your kids are questioning things a whole lot, maybe a little more, but a whole lot more than people of other eras did. They just don't have the same social pressure to play the game. They're not going to fake it. And so the good thing is you can have much more authentic conversations now, because anyone today feels much more open about voicing their questions. And that's a good thing. And I think that's something to be embraced, rather than, the way we used to do things, which is just shove everything under the rug, pretend like it is all fine. Everyone just put a smile on your face and pretend that this is completely fine. And so I think that's the big thing to keep in mind is it is probably not your fault. Probably. I mean, I don't know. I can't say that for sure. Maybe if if you're sitting there thinking I should not have, beaten my kid with that crucifix, I feel like that could have been, well, maybe, that, okay, maybe you need to have a conversation where you really repent for that and help. Yeah, right. Like maybe that wasn't the best, but chances are that this is not your fault. Chances are that this is your kids responding to social pressures and asking normal questions that anyone would ask. Can we start by saying this? Look, what we believe is a little weird. And if your kids don't question it at any point, I would almost worry about that. Guys, we believe that this guy was crucified and he came back to life. Well, and then he ascended, like just floated up in the sky. And we Catholics believe in the Assumption of Mary, that she did not die. She was also brought up to heaven. And that's one of those non-optional, like, we believe it. You can't say you don't believe that. And we believe, and this is not required as Catholics, but a lot of us believe that the Blessed Mother keeps showing up and talking to us. So that's how, yeah, I mean, look, it's crazy. It's like, we believe crazy things. We really do. And so, I believe it. I mean, a former atheist, it all makes sense to me. But I understand. I think it is a good and normal thing that our kids would have questions about it. And so if you have a kid who says, who comes at you and says that they don't feel like they believe anymore, I don't think we should act like it's the end of the world. I think that we should say, well, oh, you have questions. That's amazing. Great. Let's explore them together. So here are the other two things to unpack. The other is that you need to be, I would say, start with your own faith life. Because what I see a lot is that what's really going on, the reason it's so upsetting to you, if you really dig deep and really spend some time sitting and going deep on this one, it's not, all of your negative emotions are not rooted in a deep, deep, passionate love of the Lord. It's more about control, and it's more about fear, and it's more about kind of the feeling of wanting to be right. And so I think that it's really important that when we have these kind of conversations with our kids, well, oh, actually, and I meant to specifically say fear that they might be onto something, because a lot of people, they were raised in faith. They've always had faith. It just always made sense to them. And so, but when their kids come with details like, okay, the assumption, or the ascension, when Jesus returned to heaven. Okay, how did that, like, he went into the sky? Like, did he make it to the stratosphere, or did he make it like actually out into space? Like, at what point did he disappear? Like, I think that there are some people of faith who are like, well, whoa, can we go back to Mercury and retrograde here? Like that, I don't know.
Like, I can't answer that question right now.
Yeah, whoa, wait. And I think we don't like that. And I think, let's get real, that sometimes people do ask questions that it's like, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, I can't believe we actually believe that. Like, that sounds really weird, actually, now that I have to actually answer that question. But here's the thing. Honesty, look, you have the truth on your side. God does exist. Jesus, that he rose from the dead. It's all true. Just because we don't understand the hows and the whys, it doesn't mean it's not true. But I think that before you have these conversations with your kids, you have to step into your own place of confidence and love of God. Because that's the thing. A lot of times when people talk to their kids about getting back into faith, they speak of it like they're speaking of a root canal. They speak of it with all of the joy of, like, imagine telling someone who doesn't want to get a root canal that they should. And the kid says, but I don't know. I think that I can wait a while. And you're very like, no, you need this root canal. That is often how we talk about going to church. That is often same tone of voice, that like our tone basically says, look, I know it's terrible. I know it's weird. I know it makes you want to do drugs, the pain of it all, but just, I don't know, I'm your mother and I'm telling you to do this. That's never convinced anyone to anything. And it doesn't show that we love it. You're not acting like you love this. You're acting angry. You're acting controlling. You're not acting like this is bringing a lot of joy to your life. And so I think that the advice I would give, because people ask me about this a lot, the advice that I would give would be, take a step back. First, say, that's great that you have questions. It's good to ask questions. You should ask questions about your faith. And then take a step back and say, I am going to work on my own faith life for a while. I'm going to get excited about it. I am going to ask tough questions, and I am going to ask them without fear. I'm not going to be afraid of what I might find. I will be fully confident in, that God's got this, and I can ask any questions, and it doesn't have to be weird. And I will just jump into this with confidence. And I really think that rekindling your own joy is such an important place to start, because then when you talk to any young person, a niece, a nephew, a son or a daughter, you are speaking from a place of authentic joy. Then, instead of the tone of trying to convince them to get a root canal, the tone is more like, I'm offering you double fudge chocolate cake. Well, like Shady makes. But Shady, I never told you that cake you made the other day was amazing. It was amazing. And like, I'm trying to convince you. It would be like Shady made, what was the last cake you made for Pammy's birthday?
Cookies and cream ice cream.
Okay.
Cake.
Shady made a cookies and cream ice cream cake. And if I knew someone who was like, get that away from my mouth, I don't want, and didn't you make your own icing?
Yeah.
She made her own icing with real cream, I think.
Mm-hmm.
With real cream. Imagine if someone was like, Puh, I spit on that cake. I don't get it away from me. I hate it. Blah. Think of how you would react to that. You'd be like, what? Excuse me?
What's
Like,
wrong
what?
with you?
What? Watch me. Like I am loving this cake. Look, see, I'm gonna get banned for sexual content again.
There you
go. See, this is why I don't have a platform. This is why I'm in the middle of getting deplatformed, because I do things like that. So, but just imagine that you're like licking a spoon and being like, you don't.
Maybe not. So don't imagine
you don't
that.
want this. Like, okay. This podcast is just so going off the rails, but when kids. I need to be, you know what? Let's not be totally against the media companies. Some people need to be suspended. Look, if you were to have one of, and Shady made the special cream in it, and
the hole keeps getting bigger.
Okay. Well, I'm about to hit end broadcast right this second. Let's use as an example a brownie, because this is going so far off the rails.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's say that the most delicious brownie you'd ever tasted, and some young person was like, I don't want it. Think of the look on your face. Think of how you would speak to them about it. You'd be like, what? That you don't want good things? All right, well, I am going to be living my best life with this brownie. But is that how we ever talk to young people when they say, yeah, I don't want to go to church anymore. I don't believe anymore. We are angry. We get really controlling. We get upset. And I just think that if we had more of these conversations in a spirit of joy and peace, and if we started by releasing all fear, and I mean all fear of how our kids will turn out, fear of how just their relationship with God, but also fear, our own deep fears that we will never admit are there, our own fears about our own questions, that we're afraid that like we kind of resent that this conversation even came up, because now maybe I'm going to have to, like, what if the kid asks me something and it's like, okay, that one is really weird, like kind of makes me question things. Release those fears too, and just say, hey, let's joyfully explore this together. And son, daughter, maybe I'll become an atheist. Let's explore.
See a couple steps backwards here.
Yeah, all of my followers are like, can she go back to the double entendre with cake? Like, this is really going off the rails. To maintain that connection and to tell your kids, because here's the other thing is, parents always model God for kids. You are kind of standing in for God. And how would you like that if you do something that God didn't like, and he's like, well, I am done with her. That's it. Like, I'm sick of this, and I'm angry, and I'm over this. I'm done with that. Absolutely done with that. No, you wouldn't like that. When you mess up and when you do something that God doesn't like, you hope that he will look at you with the eyes of a loving father and say, daughter, son, I love you, and I'm always here, and I'm always going to be with you. And that's exactly what we should do. We should say that I love you. Let's explore these questions together, because my love for you is not dependent on how amazing your faith life is. That is a totally normal thing. And like in the Catholic world, we have canonized saints who question God's existence. Mother Teresa in her journals was like, sometimes I feel like God is just not there. This is a totally normal part of the spiritual life. So I think it's really important to just turn to the kid and say, okay, well, you're asking questions, and let's explore them together. And I have questions too. Let's find out, but not to make any decisions and not have any reactions at all be based in fear, and not to cut off any part of the relationship just because you don't like the questions that are being asked. So that is that's my take. And just, normally this is where, thank you. Normally, this is where I would say, be sure to like this. For those of you watching on YouTube and Facebook, be sure to hit that like button so that the algorithms will see that this is fire content that they need to show to everyone. But, maybe, I don't know, maybe we shouldn't be supporting this content. Maybe this is such a train wreck. And I just get banned from these apps anyway, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you hit the like button or comment. It just doesn't matter. Okay, I've never taken the time to read comments before, but I saved time for it now. Okay, thank you, Sharon. I hope that's how you pronounce it, Sharon. Thank you for just the laughing emoji. You're amazing. I don't know how to say it in Latin. That's Rachel when we were talking about the rosary. So, well, that's my family. We only pray in Latin. Okay, let me see some of the being suspended could be a good thing. Maybe news sites will pick it up and talk about your sexual curling iron. You guys are the problem too. So you're just encouraging me. Then more people will follow you. That's true. That's true. Jason says I really help him in my faith. Jason in his faith. Thank you, Jason. I can't imagine why, but thank you very much. So I'm Jason says another Jason. No, same Jason. I'm Catholic. Do you believe that watching scary movies is bad? I think a lot of rom-coms. I think a lot of romantic comedies are actually worse. I don't know. It depends. I'm not really into scary movies, so I just wouldn't. What even like Texas Chainsaw Massacre? I'd probably skip it.
Yeah, I don't like
I'd probably, do people Saw? I'd probably skip that one, But I don't know. I'm sure that
there's the paranormal ones.
Yeah, well, I liked
those.
Stranger Things.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was good. That was the Demogorgon. I think Demogorgon are fine. We can see them as a symbol of our own sins.
We look inside ourselves.
So yeah, so I don't know if you should like or leave a comment on this one. Maybe it's time for me to give up on all social media. Yeah, and by the way, the Twitter comments where I feel like I was going to just pull up Twitter comments here live. That could be dicey. Should I or should I not? That one could really go either way. Okay, let's see what people are saying. I'll share this screen. Look, guys, I have not previewed this, so I apologize if I'm about to share something terrible. Chrome tab. Okay, so I said on Twitter why my video was removed from TikTok. Yeah, and this DM I got was from a man. He says, I don't want to cause scandal, but could the TikTok image algos have misinterpreted the device at the 20-second mark? So that is, and someone was like, that's got to be a man saying that, the device. Am I serious right now? Yes. Yeah, people. Someone is calling my content pornographic. So you can see Twitter is they really have. Oh, okay. Well, see, this is why. All right, never mind. I'm not sharing the screen anymore. This is why Twitter. This is why I try not to spend too much time on that app. But now I have no choice because I am not on. I'm suspended from Instagram and TikTok. Let's just see. Let's see before we end this fine broadcast, and what a broadcast it is. Let's see. Maybe the powers that be at Instagram saw this podcast and they were like, "That's not sexual. There's nothing sexual. There's nothing here. There's no nudity." Yeah. Well, by the way, here's the other thing. If I had what does the exact ban say? What does it say? It's adult nudity.
Yeah, adult
and
nudity.
sexual activity. Mm-hmm. You guys think I'd do that for free? Come on,
Nope.
TikTok. I'm not putting that on your app. That's what OnlyFans is for. I wouldn't. Come on, I'm giving that away. Okay, let's see. We'll pull up Instagram right now. Maybe they're fans of my podcast and they're like, we didn't understand. It's a curling iron. What? It's not. Okay. Are you ready? Why do the creepy music?
Oh yeah.
With your fingers crossed. Okay. All right. Here we go. I'll let you guys see it.
Oh, wrong. You're fired.
Try again later. We restrict activity to protect our community. They're protecting the Instagram community from me. Tell us if you think we made a mistake, and you click a button that says "Tell us," and I did, and I told them.
Tell them.
Like I can't.
More.
Guys, I can't. Like I can't even look at your content. This is okay now, but maybe I'm an optimist. Maybe TikTok has put my video back. Maybe they're like, that's a curling iron. If I've ever seen one, if I have ever seen a curling iron, it's that. All right, so here we go. It says appeal received, or it did. Okay, so you know what? I'll close the app. Close the app. Pulling it back up. All right. Moment of truth.
No.
Nope. Community. Oh, this is my agent calling me. Hi, Jackie. I will call you back. So yeah, that's funny. My agent is probably calling me to be like, hey, you got yourself banned from your 2 most major platforms. So we're calling to congratulate you. Maybe she's calling me to be like, we've all made a mistake. So you can see, see the one that's, for those of you watching on video, see the one that's grayed out. That would be the one with sexual content and nudity. Okay, evidently I have to call my agent back. So that wild podcast here today. Wish me luck on Instagram. I am not restricted. I think I can post more on TikTok. I haven't tried. Actually, let's find out right now. I don't think I'm restricted. Okay, yeah, I'm not. Okay, I can post on TikTok. They just won't let me play the one fire video, the fire video that everyone was loving. But I cannot even post or look at you guys' content on Instagram. I have been banished. I've been banished.
Rude.
So just, I don't know, just pray. Does God answer those kind of? God's probably like, might be for the best. Well, it was, it's my whole career just runs off of that app. So I think it's really fine. And all right, that is it for this episode. Shady, you can cue the exit music. I do bonus content every week on Patreon. Patreon.com/thisisjen. Weekly bonus content. Parties for you guys where I hang out with you guys. Go to patreon.com/thisisjen. And I will be back with you live next week.
Bye.
Here on This Is Jen.